Some people would point out that different denominations often link up. They do, and often there is a genuine effort toward unity. But sometimes it's more a way of denying the problem of division, or pretending that it doesn't exist, rather than solving the problem. It's like a drunkard being sober for a day, or a fornicator practicing chastity for a week. Sadly, because they're pretending about their problem, they soon revert to their old ways. Now, rather than compromise, Jesus wants obedience. He wants us to be one in Him always, in all things. Others will reply that this is an ideal, true enough of the invisible universal church, but not practical at the grassroots or local level. They even think you have to have denominational organisations to provide a local visible church. When Jesus built his church 1900 years ago, it was a local and visible church. At first it was in only one place, Jerusalem, and all of its members were in that one congregation. But as people further afield were converted, the one church manifested itself in many localities, just as it did in Jerusalem. These various churches were real and tangible. They were the church that Jesus built, whether in Jerusalem, Antioch, Ephesus, Philippi, Corinth, Rome, or wherever. They were only different churches in terms of where they were, not what they were. No denomination that exists today existed back then. This proves that you don't have to belong to any denomination today to be a fully fledged Christian, because true Christians were working and worshipping in local congregations without there being any denominations in the first century world. To clarify this in your mind, ask yourself, what denomination did Paul belong to back in that first century world? And when he wrote to the churches in various places, which particular denomination did he write to? When he wrote, for example, to the church in Ephesus, which he told its elders was the church that God had purchased with his own blood, Acts chapter 20. When he wrote to that local congregation, what denomination was it? It was no denomination. It was just the church that Jesus built and purchased with his blood. But it was locally real and visible, because the courier obviously managed to find it and deliver the letter. Wherever you travelled, if you found a church, it was simply a Christian church like all the others. There were controversies, to be sure, but the Holy Spirit did not encourage the factions to set up denominations. No, he told them to be of the same mind and the same judgment, and that there should be no divisions among them, 1 Corinthians 1. Later, when denominations were built, this command was disobeyed. The answer today is not to join existing denominations together to make more immense denominations. The answer is to go back to the rock and build the Church of God on it. This can be accomplished in any place, just as it was in the cities of Paul's time. Denominational Christians often argue for the existence of their denomination. Yet at the same time they recognize that one can be a true Christian without ever belonging to it. Why then have it at all? Why not abolish the denomination? Jesus did not build it. It is not necessary to belong to it in order to belong to Christ. And it divides believers from believers. Jesus said, "I will build my church." In the words, "I will," he expresses his authority. No denomination has his authority to exist. When Jesus said build, he referred to his work. Why not be dedicated to his work? Promoting a denomination is not the work of Christ. When Jesus said, my church, he spoke of no denomination, but of his calling together of all those he saves by his death and resurrection. Why not answer that calling together? There is something special about the year 2001. A new millennium begins. Wouldn't it be wonderful if a new order could begin for all churches, the New Testament order? The restoration of that original order and pattern is the Lord's will. But before it can be instituted anywhere, it must find acceptance in the hearts of true believers. Will it find acceptance in yours?